It was a seemingly ordinary day. Passengers boarded Flight 4U9525 filled with anticipation. The Airbus A320 taxied onto the runway, ready to soar. But fate had a cruel twist in store. Minutes into the flight, something went terribly wrong. The plane took a steep, inexplicable descent. Air traffic controllers' calls met with eerie silence. Panic rippled through the cabin. The aircraft hurtled towards a nightmarish end. The impact was devastating. The world watched in horror. Flight 4U9525 had crashed into the French Alps. It was a disaster that would forever scar the aviation industry. The investigation quickly zeroed in on the man who held the lives of 150 passengers and crew in his hands, co-pilot Andreas Lubitz. Lubitz, a German national, was young, seemingly healthy, and had logged over 600 flight hours. On the surface, he appeared to be a model pilot. Colleagues described him as quiet and unassuming, a man who had dedicated his life to flying. He had dreamed of becoming a pilot since childhood, pursuing his passion with unwavering determination. But beneath the veneer of normalcy lay a darkness that no one could have foreseen. As investigators delved into Lubitz's past, a disturbing picture began to emerge. Medical records revealed a history of severe depression and suicidal tendencies. Lubitz had sought treatment for his condition, concealing it from his employer, fearing it would jeopardize his career, his lifelong dream. His desperation to keep his illness a secret would have catastrophic consequences, leading him down a path of unimaginable darkness. The question that haunted investigators was chillingly simple. Could this tragedy have been prevented? The flight began unremarkably. Data recovered from the black box revealed that the takeoff and initial ascent from Barcelona were routine. The captain and co-pilot engaged in standard pre-flight checks and communication with air traffic control. However, as the aircraft reached its cruising altitude, a subtle shift occurred. The captain excused himself from the cockpit, leaving Lubitz alone at the controls. It was during these fateful minutes that the chilling reality of the situation began to unfold. The cockpit voice recorder captured a series of disturbing sounds. The captain could be heard knocking gently on the locked cockpit door, his tone polite at first, then increasingly urgent. Lubitz's breathing was the only response. The captain's pleas turned to desperate pounding, then shouting. He was locked out of the cockpit, unable to regain control of the plane. The passengers, oblivious to the horror unfolding in the cockpit, went about their routines, unaware of their impending fate. The investigation into Lubitz's background revealed a man grappling with inner demons. His medical records painted a grim picture of severe depression and anxiety. He had sought help from multiple doctors, some recommending he cease flying. Concealing his illness from his employer likely exacerbated his fragile mental state. Lubitz reached a breaking point, his despair manifesting in a horrific way. Investigators found a torn-up sick note deeming him unfit to work. This discovery solidified the horrifying truth. Lubitz had deliberately chosen to end his life, taking 149 innocent people with him. Inside the black box. Uncovering the chilling truth. The black boxes provided crucial insights into the final moments of Flight 4U9525. After the captain left the cockpit, Lubitz reprogrammed the autopilot, setting the plane on a descent course towards the French Alps. The audio captured the captain's desperate attempts to re-enter the cockpit. Lubitz had overridden the system, preventing the door from opening. The cockpit voice recorder captured Lubitz's steady breathing, revealing his deliberate and calculated actions. Andreas Lubitz had intentionally crashed the plane. Section 6. The world reacts. Shock, grief, and outrage. News of the deliberate crash sent shockwaves across the globe. Disbelief and horror rippled through communities as families grappled with the unimaginable loss of loved ones. The world mourned with them, united in grief and outrage. The deliberate nature of the act magnified the tragedy, leaving many struggling to comprehend the darkness that could drive an individual to such an act. The media scrambled to make sense of the unthinkable, dissecting Lubitz's past, searching for answers that seemed impossible to find. Public outrage grew as the investigation revealed the extent of Lubitz's concealed mental health struggles. Questions arose about the responsibility of airlines to ensure the psychological well-being of their pilots, and the need for more robust screening procedures. The tragedy exposed a chilling vulnerability in the aviation industry, shaking the public's trust in air travel. It was a stark reminder that behind the technological marvels and stringent regulations, human frailty remained a potent and unpredictable force. Section 7. A deeper dive, analyzing the pilot's mental state. In the aftermath of the tragedy, aviation experts, psychologists, and psychiatrists around the world grappled with the question of what drove Andreas Lubitz to commit such a horrific act. His medical records revealed a history of depression, but could this alone explain his actions? Some experts pointed to the possibility of a psychotic break, suggesting that Lubitz may have experienced a complete detachment from reality. Others theorized that his suicide, a desperate act of self-destruction, morphed into a homicidal rampage, taking innocent lives along with his own. The complexity of the human mind, particularly in the throes of mental illness, made it impossible to definitively pinpoint Lubitz's motivations. However, the tragedy served as a stark reminder that mental health issues could manifest in unpredictable and devastating ways. The aviation industry, long focused on physical health and technical proficiency, was forced to confront the critical importance of addressing the psychological well-being of pilots. The need for improved mental health screening, support systems, and destigmatization within the industry became painfully clear. Section 8. The Cockpit Door, a Barrier and a Debate. The tragedy of Flight 4 U-9525 ignited a global debate about cockpit security. Reinforced cockpit doors, implemented after September 11th, ironically became barriers, preventing the captain from intervening. Some argued the doors prevented hijackings, while others saw a fatal flaw in trusting a single individual. The debate led to calls for requiring 2 authorized crew members in the cockpit at all times. This rule of 2 gained traction as a potential solution to prevent similar tragedies. Section 9. Strengthening the system, new safety protocols emerge. The aviation industry, deeply shaken by the tragedy, embarked on a mission to prevent similar incidents from ever happening again. Airlines and regulatory bodies worldwide implemented sweeping changes, focusing on pilot mental health screening, cockpit security procedures, and information sharing. New guidelines mandated more rigorous psychological evaluations for pilots, including regular mental health assessments and mandatory reporting of any concerns to aviation authorities. The stigma surrounding mental health in the aviation industry began to dissipate as airlines implemented peer support programs and confidential counseling services. The rule of 2, requiring 2 authorized crew members in the cockpit at all times, became a standard operating procedure for many airlines. This measure ensured that if one pilot became incapacitated, another qualified individual would be present to maintain control of the aircraft. The tragedy of Flight 4 U-9525 served as a catalyst for a paradigm shift in aviation safety, prioritizing not only physical health and technical expertise, but also the psychological well-being of those entrusted with the lives of passengers. Section 10. Never Forgetting Memorials and the Enduring Impact. In the tranquil French Alps, a memorial stands as a solemn tribute to the 150 lives lost on that fateful day. Relatives of the victims gather there annually, finding solace in shared grief and honoring the memories of their loved ones. The crash site itself has become a place of pilgrimage, marked by a simple stone monument engraved with the names of the victims. Visitors leave flowers, messages, and mementos, creating a poignant tapestry of love, loss, and remembrance. The tragedy of Flight 4 U-9525 continues to resonate deeply within the aviation industry and beyond. It serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the importance of addressing mental health issues, not just within aviation but in all aspects of society. The families of the victims, forever bound by their shared loss, have shown incredible resilience, channeling their grief into advocacy for improved aviation safety and mental health awareness. Their tireless efforts ensure that the lessons learned from this tragedy will not be forgotten. Section 11. A Safer Tomorrow. Lessons Learned and a Legacy of Change. The deliberate crash of Flight 4 U-9525 was a watershed moment for the aviation industry. It exposed vulnerabilities in the system and forced a long-overdue conversation about pilot mental health and cockpit security. The tragedy, as profound and heartbreaking as it was, ultimately led to positive change. The aviation industry, through enhanced safety protocols, increased awareness, and a renewed focus on human factors, has emerged stronger and more resilient. The legacy of Flight 4, U-9525 lives on, in the countless lives saved through improved safety measures and the ongoing commitment to prioritizing mental well-being alongside technical expertise. The tragedy serves as a solemn reminder that behind every technological marvel and sophisticated system, the human element remains paramount. By learning from the past and embracing a culture of openness and support, we can strive to create a safer tomorrow for everyone who takes to the skies.